Welds in aluminium can fatigue and fail over time. That's why our panniers are riveted, like aircraft. Metal Mule. Engineered to be different.
Hi, my name is Spencer Conway and I'm from Swaziland in southern Africa. The name's just been changed to Eswatini. Okay, well, I was born in Kenya and then I moved to Swaziland and then I stayed there until school. Then I came to Wales. I went to Atlantic College and International School. Then I went to Edinburgh University. Then I went back to Swaziland and then I went to the Seychelles where I was teaching for 4 years. And then I decided to try and circumnavigate Africa solo and unsupported on a budget. Okay, what happened was I actually thought I'd write a book and I found out that I was pretty useless. I sent it to a whole load of publishers, but I also happened to film it. So what I did, I had a mounted camera on the front of the bike and I had a handheld Panasonic digital. Basically, I got back to England, I took the program to Travel Channel and they watched 5 minutes of it and they bought the whole series. So yeah, it was quite lucky. I wasn't actually planning on doing that. But they just said it was pretty rough and quite funny, so I was quite lucky with that. Doesn't ever make you rich, but it allowed me to pursue the next project. Okay. I basically travel without a phone, without a GPS and without a map. Some people think it's not a good idea, but what I found is it provides me with experiences that I would never have otherwise. If people tend to follow iOverlander or Map Me or something, you'll turn up at a beautiful village and you'll suddenly come across 10 GSs. And for me, it sort of ruins the vibe. I prefer to try and find back roads. For example, I've done 115,000 kilometers, about 80 of it on dirt roads. So I tend to try and find the worst roads. And I ask 4 or 5 people the route. I do have a compass. So when I start the project, I know I'm going from England to Cape Town, so I know I'm heading south. And then when I get to Cape Town, I know I'm heading north. So for example, I did 55,345 kilometers around Africa. It's supposed to be about 35. But I got lost constantly, but that's when I had the best experiences. The best thing that happened to me by far, I was in the Danakil Depression in the Sahara, and what I did was I got 10 litres of petrol on my back, I got 2 5-litre drums and I had a 23 litre and I rode into the desert. And I met these 3 like Berber type guys and it was like a film, I swear to God, it's proved, it's on my program. A guy with an eye patch even actually had the bird on his shoulder, and these guys stopped with me. I didn't speak Arabic, but you know, sign language, you know how it goes, Graham. And they managed to make a meal. I hadn't seen a tree for the last 4 or 5 hours. This guy disappeared for 20 minutes, came back with a log. And they cooked up this meal, and we all stayed together. We slept on the floor, and we didn't need a tent, of course, because it's the desert. But the amazing thing was that when I woke up, they were gone, and there is no way that you could tell that they had been there. They'd buried the fire, they'd basically swept the sand, and when I looked next to where I was sleeping, there was a piece of cardboard on the ground with "thank you" written on it, stuffed in the sand. And that, like, I've already got goosebumps again. So it's those kind of, you know, you're a traveller, those kind of experiences stick with you. That is probably one of my best. The second best one was I went through the centre of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Everyone goes through Matadi, which is the coastal route. But I decided to try and go through the centre of DRC to a place called Makela de Zomba. And the road turned into a path which turned into nothing. So I had to machete my way through, and I did 11 kilometres in 10 hours. I eventually came out to a hut, and there was a border guard there, and he nearly fell off his chair, 6'4" white guy covered in mud. And no one had been there for 3 years, and he had his stamp and everything, but it had dried up. So what he did was he wrote in pen, I've still got the passport, he wrote, "Spencer Conway is allowed to pass this border." I was like, yeah, right, I'm not going to get through, but I did. So, you know, just to feel quite adventure-y. The worst thing that ever happened to me, I got attacked by bandits in Kenya. On the border between Somalia and Kenya, there were 3 guys on a hill, and you know, in Africa they're so friendly, you know, everyone's waving and smiling. So I waved at these guys, and one of them just pulled up an AK, shot up the bike, the back wheel came off, the brake caliper exploded, went in my arm there, and came out the other side over here. I broke 3 ribs, came off the bike, wheel went flying down the road, so I only had the rim. electric start, got up expecting to be shot in the back, went around the corner, nothing, fell into the bushes, stayed there 15 hours in the rain, and then I walked about 20 miles to a Catholic mission. I found a German priest there, and they called the army, and the army came along, and they're all drunk as lords, and they're like, we've got to go find these guys, but you know, it was the day before, so I was trying to say to them, it's ridiculous, they're not going to be standing there going, we shot that guy. Anyway, we went back, they had a look around for like 20 minutes, oh, there's nobody here. And then on the way back, they said to me, oh, we want to show you something. And there was a cross on the side of the road, and they said, oh, that's a Chinese construction worker that got killed last week. 300 people have been killed on this road in the last year. So I was like, bloody hell. So I phoned Travel Channel and I said, listen guys, you've got to put it on the website just to warn people. Now I do understand that there's tourism and I don't want to ruin it. So they interviewed me on TV, radio, etc. in Kenya, but none of it went on TV, which I completely understand because it doesn't help with tourism if people are getting shot. It was my fault. I don't want to put people off Africa. It was on the border with Somalia where they train the pirates, and I was supposed to go by convoy, but once again, you know what it's like. They spend 6 hours loading goats and all that business. So I went to the army and I said, can I go? And the guy said, yeah, no problem, it's up to you. And 20 minutes later, I got shot at. So it was a bad decision on my part, and it can happen anywhere, you know. So that was the worst one. Yeah, I just came back from South America. So once again, it was a circumnavigation of the whole of South America, but I decided that the 2 landlocked countries I'd also visit. So I just popped in there. So it was all 13 countries in South America. Didn't go according to plan because I'm extremely accident prone. I'm rubbish with directions and I get lost in my own kitchen. And basically I got all the way around, which was 58,013 kilometers. I was 300 kilometers from finishing, but Venezuela wouldn't let me through the border. It's been closed for 3 years. So I did the world's longest detour. If anybody else knows a long one, let me know. It's 7,500 miles through the Amazon on the famous B319 Ghost Road, which is 886 kilometers of nothing. And then back into Ecuador, Peru, and into Colombia to finally leave, which was all great, but I managed to pick up malaria on the Ghost Road, and I rode for 14 days with the camera woman telling me that it was man flu and that she needs a real man. So I was like riding like this, feeling rather rough, ended up on the coast of Peru, collapsed in the street and put in hospital and sorted out. But it's my 5th time with malaria, so you kind of get used to it. Yeah. I'm riding a Yamaha XT660Z Tenere from 2009. It was provided by Yamaha, which is really cool. I've never ever had a new bike because I'm a pauper. So what I do is I buy bikes for like 50 quid and then do them up myself. I've never had a new bike, so I was like a kiddie at Christmas. You can imagine a new Tenere turns up. And a lot of people don't like them because they look a bit like Transformers. It's not everyone's taste. And I'm honest, it's a single cylinder, so it's quite shaky. It's not super cool for tar roads, but I aim for dirt. It's perfect for me. I'm 6'4", so it's great for the height. It's a fairly light bike, not super light, but I can pick it up myself 4 or 5 times. And well, it's not bulletproof, but it's not far off. Yeah, if you're interested, my new series probably be about 3 or 4 months, because they've got to do voiceover, graphics, music, try and cut me out of as much of it as possible. And you can follow me on spencerconway.com, and I'm also on Cheesebook and Insta Rubbish and all those other ones.
Brilliant. Anything else? Excellent. No?
All good?
Thanks, mate.
Cool.
Fantastic.
No worries. Our panniers have a double-thick rim at the base, keeping damage from the inevitable bumps, scrapes, and offs to the outside of the pannier. Metal Mule. Engineered